Putin's starvation strategy.
And while Western politicians are trying to assign blame, some African countries, including Kenya, are now facing a shortage of vital products amid soaring costs of living. We heard from some of the people there who say they're barely making ends meet.
We are living in a difficult moment here in Kenya, and everything is shooting up in price. Getting daily bread or even meals for a day is a miracle. There is a shortage of foods, especially for people like us who depend on hand-to-mouth.
Russia has been highly boosting the economy of our nation, and wheat from there is used in making animal feeds. Maybe that is why all this is happening.
Wheat flour is not affordable, and especially for us who live on the outskirts of the Nairobi area. We don't have permanent jobs, and yet we must provide for our own families at home. Politics and war in other places like Ukraine has played a major setback in our suffering.
It's true, not everyone is capable of having 3 meals per day, and as you can see in my shop, I don't have much stock. Even sunflower oil and wheat flour are nowhere to be seen. Things are getting worse on a daily basis.
Affording 3 meals in a day? No, not yet. The little money I get can only sustain me for a day, then I look for another alternative. Either visit a friend of mine at least to share a little, but failing that, I will sleep hungry.
Let's go live now to Khulekani Skosana, the chair of the International Relations at African National Congress Youth League. Thank you for joining us on the programme. It's good to see you. Now, Khulekani, the crisis over Ukraine has led to an increase in food shortages and prices across the globe, as we were just listening to. In Africa in particular, as the population of that region is extremely vulnerable. How alarmed are you by this development?
Thank you for having us. Firstly, as young people in the African continent, we are alarmed by the continued lies. We do not think that hunger and poverty in Africa is permeated by Russia's actions in Ukraine. We believe that developing nations, most of which are former colonies of Britain, Spain, France, Portugal, and the rest, we are starving because we are not owning the land that we are born in, and the resources that have been stolen over 300 years here in Africa have not been brought back. That is why we're hungry. We're hungry because of imperialism that has gripped our continent. People who continue to plow our resources to go and make cell phones. We know Tesla just signed a deal with the DRC of Congo. So we think that what is happening currently, which is food shortages around the world or in developing nations, is not as a result of Russia's actions. It is as a result of America and its clandestine plans for global dominance. We maintain, is it okay that Russian kids must starve on the basis of sanctions imposed on Russia? Is it okay for Cuban children to starve on the basis of the economic embargo imposed on Cuba till today? Is it okay for Zimbabwe children to starve on the basis of sanctions imposed on Zimbabwe? No, it is not okay. We are saying America's actions have always led to disaster in the world, and it does not begin today, and we do not think that it is as a result of Russia. So if we want to alleviate food shortages in the world, then let us accede to the request of the people of Russia, who have clearly stated that they just want freedom, peace, and safety. We do not have to find ourselves here. It is the actions of NATO instead of taking food to Ukraine, they are taking weapons there.
Well, yeah, I wanted to ask you about that, because as we just reported, a German minister has called on the Western countries to ramp up weapons supplies to Ukraine, saying that that would help avert the global famine. What do you make of that?
We are shockingly amazed at those words, because how do you distribute weapons to citizens who do not know how to use them? I mean, what happens when there is no longer a Russia in Ukraine? What's going to happen to those weapons? You are distributing weapons to millions of citizens who do not know how to utilize them. Young people who are vulnerable and who are used by a state that does not care about them. we do not agree with those sentiments. If there's anything that must be sent to Ukraine, is flowers of peace, to say that we do not want weapons in that area, because that is the point that the Russian people have always made, that the issue that starts this incursion is the weapons that continue to find themselves in Ukraine. We know that America has been trying to create weapons of biological weapons in Ukraine. It's weapons, 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 weapons. We cannot stand that. As people of the world, we want peace and more peace. And we are saying that we encourage the negotiations and the peace talks between the Russian Federation and Ukraine. And we think that it is only through dialogue that we can resolve this issue, and it is not through weapons. So we do not agree with any sentiments that says weapons must be sent to Ukraine.
What kind of risks might hunger and poverty present for political stability in Africa?
The hunger that is found in Africa and the instability thereof politically, I mean, you've seen it. The purpose mainly is usually to create regime change in African state by making sure that the economy is suffocated and the people there are not able to make means by themselves. And that is why in 2021 alone, we had about 5 coups, 5 coups d'etats in the African continent, something we have never seen before, the continued undermining of democracy. We say that democracy is for the people, by the people, but lately democracy seems to be by the Americans, for the people, because if it is not the American way, then you will suffer, you will get sanctions, and they will make sure that they kill you in the same manner that they killed Patrice Lumumba.
Do you think that we should expect a further transformation of the global food supply system, and how exactly do you think it's likely to change?
We think that we are quite encouraged by the words of President Putin. Those who want to buy oil, cooking oil, and those who want to buy wheat in Russia, they must also be told to do it in rubles, because we cannot agree that the Russian child must suffer and the European child must eat nicely. If America imposes sanctions on Russia, Russia has a right to respond. And we maintain the shortage of food supply in the world is not a creation of Russia. It is as a creation of America, who chose to utilize Ukraine as a pawn and as a proxy to confront Russia. And we say that if any food shortages are to be addressed, then sanctions that have been imposed against Russia must be withdrawn. And we implore everyone to recognize the fact that America continues to utilize sanctions as weapons of war. Cubans today are still suffering because of the economic embargo imposed on them. And we cannot smile and say that is okay because it's not appearing on CNN and it's not appearing on German news outlets. We think that if there is a food shortage, then we need to address the real problem. And the real problem is that America continues to make itself a big brother and a leader of the world when nobody has chosen it to be such.
Khulekani Skosana, Chair of International Relations at African National Congress Youth League, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Now, a prominent Polish journalist says